What's happening, people, and welcome back to another episode of the Red Room here on United View. I told you lot, Flex told you lot, content is coming fast, it's coming quick, and we had to come back, sit down in the Red Room because we got so much to discuss. Rumour has it, Marcel has not taken off his United shirt since the Carabao Cup final. He's had it on. He's had it on for about 4 days straight now. But it's been a hectic week. Last week, obviously, we were talking about Barcelona. We were talking about Newcastle. I'm going to start off because I want to know, Marcel, did you think we were going to do what we done this in the last week?
Well, it's a good question. I was saying that it's a good week to be a United fan last week, and I'm back here in the Red Room, and I'm absolutely ecstatic for how we've performed for the last 2 games. It's been really good. I'm really surprised that it was as good as it's been. The win was an ugly win against Newcastle, but it's a win. It's a trophy. We've got that in the bag now. The performance against Barcelona was really good. Again, amazing at home. So really shocked and surprised at how it's transpired, but happy at the same time. I think my ultimate belief was that we was going to win. Just how things panned out, it was really surprising.
Me, I don't know what it is, but I get my predictions right. I said on Twitter on Thursday, 2-1. I said we were going to beat Barcelona 2-1. I said Newcastle game, we were going to win 2-0. I don't know. If betting wasn't against my religion, you
might dabble here and there. It's Mystic Mina. It's Mystic Mina right now.
It's Mystic Mina for real. But one thing that I'm really proud of, and I did say it last week's episode, is that I said, if we lose to Barcelona, I wonder how we'd come back in terms of the Carabao Cup final. I'm a disgrace for even thinking that. I'm an embarrassment for even thinking about what if we lost, because that game in particular for me was probably one of my favourite games this season.
The Barcelona game?
The Barcelona game was probably, and I'm talking about City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, the Carabao Cup final, so many big games that we've won this year. But for me, that Barcelona fixture is the best, because they've pulled how many levers, however the hell you pronounce it. They pulled so many of them, brought in all these players, and they just collapsed. They just couldn't handle it. I'm going to talk about the final because I think that's what everybody wants to probably hear about. For me, a lot of people say United were poor. I don't think we were poor. I don't think we were that poor in terms of people saying we were poor. I just think that I think Ten Hag, he tricked Eddie Howe. He didn't talk smack in the press, but he said, Newcastle play boring football. They sit back, dominate possession. And then Eddie Howe said, nah, we're gonna be on the front foot, and we could have utilised it. There were so many opportunities that I think that we created. Obviously, you lot can see this picture here, Harry Maguire in the middle. I know a lot of people are not happy about that, but it is what it is. He's the captain of the team, and I'm going to talk about that particularly because there's the one moment where he came on, took the captain armband, and then went on to lift the trophy with Bruno. For me, that's a level of professionalism, not just from him, but Erik Ten Hag. Erik Ten Hag has had such an interesting tenure so far at Manchester United, and the way that he's handled the whole Maguire thing. I remember he came in the summer and he said, listen, Maguire's the captain. Just because he's the captain, though, doesn't mean that he wouldn't be benched, and Ten Hag went on to bench him, but also has dealt with it in a very professional way. Obviously, I want to hear what you think.
Not really happy that, he done that. It set a precedent, and at the end of the day, Maguire is the captain right now. As you can see, as time's gone on, other players have slowly moved into that position, but Maguire's somebody that we know is, his time's up. He hasn't got the quality within the team, but he's had moments. He's even played in the forward line, come on for a few minutes and offered.
I forgot about that.
And he's offered moments in the forward line even. So he's still been utilised, and Ten Hag, has been magnificent at utilising a squad of players. But in terms of that final, I disagree with you in a sense that I think it was poor. It wasn't the level that Man United, I think, should be holding themselves to, but you still have to win.
The reason why I don't think it's poor is because we kept a clean sheet. And if you say that we were poor, that means across the pitch, we were poor. I just think maybe in our execution, we were not great. I think maybe in our link-up play, we might not have been great. It was very much like Moments FC. There were small moments that we capitalised on to go ahead and go up 1-0, go up 2-0. But I can't say we were poor, because defensively we were amazing, because we kept a clean sheet. Martinez, Varane, Wan-Bissaka, even Dalot. I don't even think Dalot was too bad, bar the little trick that St. Maximin did on him, and then he picked up an early yellow. I think that's what kind of made him become a bit more...
Forced his hand.
It kind of forced his hand and made him be a bit more less pragmatic than you'd want your fullback to be against a winger like St. Maximin. And so I don't think we were poor per se. I just feel like we didn't create a lot of clear-cut opportunities that really resulted in a 4-0, 5-0. But across the pitch, I would say it was kind of balanced out, because attacking-wise, we managed to create chances and score goals. And defensively, we did not put a foot wrong.
Yep, I can understand that. I just feel like, in that midfield area, we was very loose with possession. We wasn't safe with the football, and that caused a very frantic up and down first half. Like you said, it was Moments FC, big game Miro with a massive moment. And of course, Rashford, who's been, absolutely a star for us this season, another big moment to bring us 2-0 up. But other than that, I don't feel like we offered much in that first half in terms of quality, real quality. And I just think, it was poor, because I'm used to that control, that level of control. I think that's the word that we usually bring to football matches.
But with finals, sorry to interrupt you, because I feel like with finals, it's all about moments.
Yeah.
I feel like in a final, the team who dominates possession doesn't always necessarily win.
Even in football games.
Just in football games, but particularly in finals, I think a performance like that in the Premier League, people would have been upset with, because we were smelling, like people were saying that we stank the pitch up in terms of possession-wise and whatnot.
It was
but
really
in a
low.
final where it's just a one-off game and it's just moments. You just need moments, and I feel like we see it so many times in other finals. We saw it in the World Cup final this year. You just need a moment that will completely change the game, and that's why I feel like it's harsh to say that we were poor this time in terms of this final. And I feel like because defensively, Varane, Martinez and David De Gea didn't put a foot wrong, bar that, what you might say is...
I'm just very particular on his kicking, Mina. I'm just very particular on David De Gea's kicking, and I think he can work a lot more on that in terms of his out-the-field work. But the saving, the shot stopping, especially in that Newcastle game in particular, was fantastic. And I do agree with you. I just feel like... And I would brand it as we won ugly. We won ugly in that particular game, and that's credit to Ten Hag as well. You have to have different types of styles of play, and he's very good at changing it in game, playing the counter-attacking pragmatic style, playing the control game as well. A lot of the time at home we've seen this season, he's controlling and dominating football matches. Yes, it's with Eriksen in the side. There was no Eriksen today, and he had to find a new way to win the game. But I still think it could have been a lot better in terms of the quality and the level. I'm pretty sure that if Eriksen was part of that side, it would have been a lot different football match.
I think talking about just the final in general, and with Erik Ten Hag, the way he utilises players, I think in the final, Wout Weghorst for me is probably his best performance in a United shirt since he's come to the club. Obviously, I know that he scored in, I think it was the Nottingham Forest game in the Carabao Cup. But his performance, I don't know what it was. And it's just, maybe it's because I'm just so warmed at the fact that, he was squatting, after the game when he was squatting next to the goalpost, and he was just watching the crowd and the fans. And it's just, that was such a wholesome moment for me, just as a person, not even as a United fan, but just as a person. I was just like, oh, that's cute.
Nah, I hear you. I went as far as saying, look, we need to keep him, and I went as far as saying we need to keep him for those little kind of moments.
I can't lie, the discussion of keeping him is interesting, and I would rather see where we are in the summer, in terms of ownership, in terms of the market, Tony Marshall, what happens with all of that? Because for me, he wouldn't be the worst role player. He seems to be enjoying the fact that he has a role and he's here to play a specific, not even a specific role, because he's been used in so many different ways. And he's just here, he's just happy to be here and work his socks off. He said it in the interview with Flex on the channel, that he'll do whatever he has to do for the team. It doesn't matter where Erik Ten Hag puts him. And that's the kind of players you need in your team, really. I mentioned this earlier in the week that similar to basketball, in basketball you got your starting five, and then you've got your sixth man, you got your role players, people that are happy to come off the bench and play their role. In basketball, they might put up 5 to 10, 15 points in a game, but they're role players and that's solely their job. And I do think him, similar to Fred, they could be great role players for Manchester United. Hopefully we go out and sign a striker. I don't want him to be our striker, but depending on what happens with Tony Martial, because there's rumours that they might part ways in the summer. Yeah. If we get a Kane or an Osimhen or whatever, would you want him to be a bench option?
Yes. Simply, you know, you spoke really well on his work ethic and his ideologies, how he wants to play football, how he thinks about the game. He wants to put in the effort. You know, we spoke to Sahabi from We Talk Ajax, saying he'll go to hell for us. You know, that's the kind of mentality that you want from a Manchester United player, even if he's coming off the bench. You know, we're talking about Erik ten Hag, you know, he's made so many substitutions this season and they've come onto the pitch and been effective. So, I think it's high number.
I think it's one of the highest numbers of bench goals.
Oh, I think it's 19. League, yeah. It's the highest in Europe. You know, 19 goals contributed alone from subs. You know, he's made 15, 16 subs at half time alone. You know, very, very, not pragmatic, but, you know, strong-willed and in his mindset. I need to change these things. And the players that are coming on are being effective. I think Weghorst can be part of that group of players, you know, going forward into seasons. But I just think, you know, Erik ten Hag is an absolute world-class manager. He's definitely already showed the caliber, and 6 months already, 6-7 months into the process, trophies are here. So many issues that he's had to deal with. The window, for example, it took so long for him to get some of his players. I wanted Frankie de Jong from the beginning of the window, was hoping all the way to the end. He didn't get him. Managed to get Casemiro in. Just so many predicaments that he's had to deal with. Ronaldo saga.
Let's talk about that. The Ten Hag is basically a 6-month review, given where we are now in basically the 1st of March.
Yeah.
And it's been 6 months from the Brighton game, we lost opening game, to the Brentford game. And now I look back at it and I'm a bit grateful those happened.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Casemiro and the domino effect of the signings that came to follow would have happened if we had not got spanked 4-0 versus Brentford. Obviously, it makes a big difference in the league right now where we are in terms of being like 5 points behind Arsenal if we had won those fixtures. But Ten Hag for me has not had an easy 6 months in terms of off the pitch activities. On the pitch, there's been situations, obviously, we could talk about, you know, the Ronaldo situation, we could talk about Sancho's situation, but even just off the pitch, I've never seen a manager be interrogated by Gary Neville and Carragher in an interview, like full-on roasting interrogation. It basically put him in a police station, because that's what I felt like I was watching when it came out. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's an interview that they did with Erik ten Hag. I think it was around October time, where they're just sitting in Carrington and they are cooking him, and they're basically saying to him, are you the man for the job, blah, blah, blah. And I would love to see them do that with Graham Potter now at Chelsea, because I feel like he's doing much worse than Erik ten Hag is. But in terms of the 6 months that he's had, obviously he's had the on-the-pitch stuff, but even with, you know, dealing with not being able to get your number one signings. In the past, we've seen managers, especially at Manchester United, not get their first or second or third, end up with poorer signings than what they wanted and unable to utilise that. For me, in hindsight, Timber falling through resulted in us getting Martinez.
It's a blessing in disguise.
It's really a blessing. Frankie de Jong falling through brought us Casemiro. Obviously, profile-wise, they are two different players, but mentality-wise, I don't think Frankie de Jong would have brought that mentality that Casemiro has.
Facts.
This guy's won like everything basically in club football, and he was celebrating the Carabao Cup like it was the best trophy that he's ever won, and it's like one of the lowest ranked, I guess, top flight football trophies here in England. How do you think Erik ten Hag has done with, in terms of not only utilising the players that he has and the players that he's missed out on, but also just dealing with the different culture that he's come into? Obviously, he's come from the Netherlands and he's come from a Dutch environment under Ajax. How do you think what would you give it, his 6 months?
Oh, it's been brilliant. The 6 months has been brilliant. And when you're talking about culture, I think he's changed the mentality of the players, complaining late night for training. I'm seeing really eloquent interviews from Luke Shaw, Bruno. These are people that before last season, sometimes they're dropping absolute stinkers. You know, the performance level, you can see they were down in tools. They did not want to play for Manchester United last season. And you could even see that spill into the first 2 games, like you were saying before, against Brighton, against Brentford, who were absolutely shocking. And I was saying, you know, to flex outside of the Brentford Stadium, if he doesn't get backed, he's going to suffer. He will fail. And like you mentioned, in comes Casemiro, quite top quality that kind of just adds the mentality that Ten Hag has onto the pitch. You know, an absolute high-level winner mentality, and then he has his colleagues that he's worked with before, Martinez, and never dog, like you were saying about last week on the Red Room.
Dog.
He's got that dog in him, and like you were saying last week in the Red Room, he's just an absolute fantastic, you know, centre back, and people looked down on Martinez, literally, you know, and he proved himself week by week, and has come in and been just absolutely magnificent. Even little signings like Malacia, someone that I would have never thought of as a Man United player, growing into that role and giving massive competition for Luke Shaw. When you're speaking about the culture of Ten Hag, he's bringing that total football kind of essence into Manchester United football. You know, I'm seeing Luke Shaw in centre-back playing magnificently. I'm seeing, you know, Scott McTominay have a little bit of a further role at times. Fred even having a little bit of a further role at times. He's finally broken that partnership that was killing us in the midfield, you know, week by week. So he's done very smart. He's done a lot of smart things. Bruno going out into wide areas, little things that you just wouldn't have, you know, imagined happening at the club. He's been able to produce, and I think he's definitely showing for 6 months' work. This is better than what Arteta would have done. I think this is maybe similar or better than the likes of Pep. And I think he goes on to be a very, very high-level manager at this club and for this league. So he's been a massive part of all things that's good that's happened to Man United this season. Donny van de Beek handled that situation very well. Like you mentioned, Sancho, Rashford even, having to discipline a player that was on fire.
That takes guts.
That takes guts, and what do you think in terms of his ambitions for other trophies? You know?
I think his ambition is to win it all.
Yeah.
I think he wants to win it all, not just that, but I think he's thinking long term, building a Champions League winning team. We ain't won the Champions League since 2008. I'm not going to say how old I was then, but just know I was a kid. And now I'm an adult. I pay bills, so I'm an adult now. It's been a long time since we've won a Champions League, and I definitely think, you know, he probably thinks that, I think out of all the managers that we've actually had since Alex Ferguson, I really feel like he's going to be the one to take us there. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's fifth time lucky. It's fifth time lucky. But in terms of what he brings to United, like you said, to drop Rashford when he was in form. I remember Rashford did an interview recently with Sky, and he was saying, well, if I was a manager, I would have done the same thing. Because number one, accountability is the most important thing in a dressing room. And I feel like a lot of these players now have changed their tune completely, because under previous managers, we were seeing lineup leaks. Now I'm seeing wrong lineups getting leaked before the game, but we were seeing lineup leaks. We were seeing, you know, reports from journalists saying, you know, the changing room is broken. People don't like each other. People are arguing. You know, it's a toxic environment. You saw after, for example, after the Europa League loss, when we lost on penalties, you saw the way Rashford came out in the interview, and he was like, well, the manager's been playing me. I've been injured. But he was fuming. He was angry. Compare that, and I know it's not on the same calibre, but compare that to the draw against Barcelona and the way that players came out and spoke after the game. Oh, what were they saying? Bruno, Rashford, we should have won it. Yeah. It was there for the taking. Yeah. You know, we're going to bring them back to Old Trafford. We're going to beat them. Two completely different mindsets. And I know it's different. One is a final and one's a knockout round. But just talking about the level of both games, yeah, one's a final, one's Barcelona. You do not want to go out to Barcelona. Just the mentality change. I feel like not only are they being coached well, Ten Hag's backroom staff doing wonders. Benny McCarthy, I can't say his name, but it's Mitchell van der something.
Yeah, Van der Gaart.
Van der Gaart, something like that. Sorry, Dutch people if I said it wrong. Yeah. But him, McLaren, all of them behind closed doors, what they are doing with the team. I feel like this is the first time in about 2-3 years that they are actually being coached.
Yeah.
by a manager
Yeah.
and his thing. Because obviously under previous managers, we know, I'm not going to say names, but the previous manager never took the training sessions. It was always the assistant coaches that did it.
Yeah.
Now it seems like Ten Hag is very much more hands-on with everything. I know Maguire even mentioned in an interview that after the game, he said that he talks to Ten Hag every day. Ten Hag talks to him every day about his role in the team and everything. So I feel like just the way he handles it as a manager is one thing, but how he handles adversity as a person is another thing. The way he dealt with the Sancho situation for me was a very clear example of how much of a good person he is, just in general, not as a manager, but just as a person. Because I think people forget to look at players and managers as people. You look at them and think that person's a player, that person's a manager, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. But when you look at the Sancho situation and how he handled it as a person, he never once slated him in the press. He never once gave, till today, we don't even know
fully what the situation
what the situation was. We just know that Ten Hag said Sancho was not in the right mind and he needs to go away to train. I've seen reports people talking about like his family issues and all of that, but he's done a good job of just keeping everything under wraps. And I think as a young player, as Sancho, he probably appreciates that because he knows, again, he's English, big price tag, and there's expectations from him. So he's probably thinking he didn't throw me out to the wolves.
Yes.
And that's another thing I appreciate as a fan, is just the way that he's dealt with that.
It's control. I think the key word is control. You know, the way he's dealt with things in the media, like you said, the mentality shift from the players, that all starts from having control. From minute one as well, by the way, you know, I remember Flex and KG being out there for the pre-season, you know, and they were talking about how, you know, it just feels completely different. No players, no leagues can go anywhere. You know, they're very organised on how things are being set, how things are done. This man has control. You know, he controlled the Sancho situation and handled it very well. He's controlled, you know, the leaks within the dressing room. He's controlled the captaincy issue very well. And that's what Ten Hag brings, you know, and the ethos, the feel within the club. You know, you're talking about him, you know, going around the city on a bike, talking to people to gain feeling and control of situations, to be able to handle them right when doing the right thing on the pitch. So he's a fantastic manager. He's made some fantastic signings this season. And I'd just like to go through the summer signings and, of course, the very recent ones in January. So how do you think that they've impacted this team? We're talking about control. We're talking about, you know, the change of the mentality, the new signings during the summer, the new signings, you know, in the January window when we really needed players in. They made a huge impact on how this team has been improved. So what do you think about those signings?
Shout out to Rabiot's mum. I forgot what her name is. It begins with A. But Mama Rabiot, shout out to you.
I want to say Veronica.
Where did I get A from? It's Veronica.
I want to say Veronica.
Rabiot, if you are watching this, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, we'd have Rabiot, who would have, God knows what he would have brought to the team. I guess we'll never know. But we would never have gotten Casemiro. And I feel like if you're talking about the impact of the signings, you have to start with Casemiro, because you know that he's so important when other teams celebrate when he's suspended from a fixture. That's how you know he's a threat. You know he's important. You know he's the best DM when he was awarded yesterday, a few days ago. He was part of the FIFA starting 11 of the best players in the world. You know how important he is when he's winning an award for that. You know how important he is when without him, we just look lost in that middle. That spine is just not spining. It's just it's discombobulated. But not just him. I think obviously Martinez, Anthony, Eriksen, unluckily he's gotten injured now. But if we just think about this run in February that we've had, we had 10 games, didn't lose one. Ten Hag had 10 games and did not lose one.
They used to call him Eric 10 months before.
They called him 10 months.
They used to call him Eric 10 games.
10 games is what? No losses.
No losses.
It must be that. It must be Eric 10 games, no losses.
No losses.
That's what it must stand for. But if you think of the impact of the signings just in that run, especially when you think of Wout Weghorst and Sabitzer, who have come in January. Sabitzer obviously has been eased in a lot more than Weghorst. Weghorst has been he's played more minutes than Anthony Martial this season.
Crazy.
I think they've been so important, and Sabitzer, for example, was so important on Sunday just to kind of shut up shop in that midfield when, you know, Fred had a yellow card and whatnot. And I'm really excited to see how him and Casemiro play together. I think that he's looking to stay.
We haven't seen that in its fullest yet.
That's why I really want to see it, because I feel like Sabitzer, I think one thing that I noticed from him is he's similarly to Fred. He gets in the right positions in the final third, and we saw it in the Carabao Cup final. And I was thinking, I remember people saying shoot when he was on the edge of the box. He gets into the right places. Not only that, he's similar to Casemiro in terms of physicality, using his body in transition, defensive transitions. He's very good at tackling from what I've seen. Although it's been like small cameos, I do think we've got a lot more like to see
come from him.
From him. But like even when you talk about Anthony, who was the biggest signing in terms of price tag this year, and people might not be like, oh, he hasn't scored enough, hasn't assisted enough. But even when you think about, come on, he scored the winner against Barcelona. He scored, I think, the opening goal against Arsenal early in the season. Yeah. He scored some big goals for us. Obviously, he scored in that City 6-3 loss. Yeah. But that was a good goal.
It was a very good goal.
He's the Reading game, Casemiro assist.
Everton, I think, as well.
Everton.
Important goal.
So many things. There's little things that he's done this season, but I think also people overlook what he adds defensively in transition. Always supporting his fullback. He's tucking in, coming out if necessary, if Casemiro's caught out of position. The complete opposite to what Rashford does. Rashford, I think his instructions are not to get back, which is why Fred always shifts to the left to support Luke Shaw. But Anthony, defensively, he's so good. And I love him because he's a wind-up merchant. I love it. I feel like we need to bring back the rivalry in club football of players not being friends and players not liking each other, because he was winding up Newcastle. Obviously, we saw what he did to Palace.
Yeah. Be friends after the game and to Burn. He just ripped Burn, was toying with him. You know, I just think how we've got to judge Anthony now is a little bit different to how we generically judge wingers. You know, Jack Grealish has not been as effective as Anthony this season and is worth more than him. You know, but the way that we judge Jack Grealish is because he carries the ball well, he dribbles, he picks up a lot of fouls, similar to Anthony. And I think right now, structurally for the team, you know, pulls the shape of the team, opens the pitch up for everybody, and there's always a passing option and always trying to open a passing lane. It's very hard to take the ball off him as well.
He's very good with the ball at his feet.
Very good with the ball at his feet, similar to Jack Grealish. But Jack Grealish has had an amazing season this year, or looks as so. You know, it's this Anthony. I think, you know, I've been very harsh on him. You know, 90 minute, especially when I look at a 90-minute performance, what I'm expecting from a winger. But I'm learning now, obviously, to just judge him a little bit differently. He holds the ball well. He keeps the possession of the football, and I think he just needs more players to be around him to be more creative and gel more with the team. It's his first season. He's picked up a trophy already and has scored important goals and game-winning goals for us. So I think he's a magnificent player and has added impact. Part of that dog and fight mentality that Martinez has and that winner's mentality. He's won trophies with Ten Hag. Ten Hag said it. He's won trophies with these kind of players, Martinez, Anthony. So I think they made a massive impact of implementing Ten Hag's style at the beginning of the season and bedding in that 6-month process, making it quicker. Anthony, let's see what level he gets to. Let's see.
I don't want to be too critical of him this season, because I always give leeway to players on their first season at the club. Like that's just me. You don't have to come in and hit the ground running unless you're an Mbappe or Haaland or someone. But someone like Anthony, for me, it was very much like, let's see what he can do this season, and then next season, you know, we'll have discussions about him if necessary. So
what I was going to say is Anthony has got somebody coming up in Ahmad. You know, I don't want to touch too much on it.
But they're two different players. I think they're so different, and I think under Ten Hag would probably use Ahmad a lot differently.
Centrally,
You're right. Which is why when I see Bruno Fernandes playing as a right winger, I feel like prematurely Ten Hag is preparing for Ahmad to come back, because Ahmad and Bruno on the right, they play quite similar. They play very much in those little half spaces between the 10 and the winger. Very much, they like to come in a bit more centrally.
A right attacking mid.
1-2 passes, similar to how we saw when Sancho was in the 10 and Bruno was playing right wing. How they
very good synergy between the two.
I feel like Ahmad would be utilised like that. But it'll be interesting to see, because they're two different players, and I feel like having two different players, two different play styles is a good thing, because you can utilise two different kind of players in whatever way you want, basically.
Similar to the low-end Wan-Bissaka, just different characters to put on and to give different jobs.
I do think Anthony will be the starting, like,
long term.
Like, yeah, I don't think we buy someone for 80 million for the manager not to make that person their starting player.
Yeah. I just think, so I agree with that. I just think Ahmad's coming. Ahmad's a baller, and he's
Yeah,
coming.
he is. He's a big baller.
Yeah,
Big
and he
baller.
plays on that right side as well, left-footed. Yes, Ten Hag has used him in the central areas as a forward. We didn't have many options, but just quickly on Weghorst and Sabitzer, I think they've been magnificent as well.
I think they've been good. Yeah, I think Weghorst's been great for what you're getting.
Yeah.
Same for Sabitzer in terms of what you've paid.
Yeah,
It's short-term solution. It's working for the short term. We'll see how it works out. Like if there's a long-term option for them.
I would like to think Weghorst gets one. And I don't know about Sabitzer, Fred, they're similar profiles. I think, he goes into the market for his ball carrier next season, in the summer, Ten Hag. So you do want somebody that's got high energy and can arrive in the areas and in the right areas, can do a job for you.
Yeah.
I think Fred is definitely of that mould. He's worked with the team well. He works very well with Casemiro.
Bear in mind though, Fred has probably having his 12-month extension triggered probably this summer,
Right.
which we don't know if he's going to get a long-term deal after that. So Sabitzer could be the long-term option for that. But again, it's just discussion in it. There's nothing cemented there. But in terms of what's to come, obviously we got West Ham this evening, FA Cup. I think it's the 5th round.
Yes.
Followed by Liverpool on Sunday. Let's talk about the West Ham game because it's another quest for a trophy. We've been lucky to get home draws quite often this season.
Yes.
How do you think Ten Hag will come out in terms of lineup-wise?
Well, I'm done now talking about trophies. I'm done with the Carabao Cup in terms of...
On to the next.
On to the next now. I'm done with the celebration of trophies, should I say. That's happened now. Ten Hag almost left the trophy on the desk after his presser. So if that's his mentality, we're on trophy hunt season right now. And I think it's an opportunity for us to beat a West Ham side that have played well. I think they won their last game. They look like, and they've always been a really good side. We struggled with them last season. I think it was like in the league we won the game, and then in the cup, I don't know if it was the Carabao Cup or this same FA Cup, but we lost that game. So within a short space of time, similar to Leeds this season, we played them back to back. We won one and lost one. So West Ham have got a good competitor. We're at the Fortress though, at Old Trafford, so I think it's going to be a difficult test for them, but I just hope that Ten Hag gets everybody's mind on the game. It's time to win this game. It's time to be focused. We can't be, lethargic. Sometimes you get a massive high from a win, and then the next game you're coming in, you're not really the same. So the turnaround has been very, very minimal. So I just, and I saw an interview from Luke Shaw, straight back into training the next day.
Yeah, next day they were back.
Straight back into training, Mina, and I love that kind of attitude. That's the kind of attitude of a winning side, continuously obsessed with winning. So Ten Hag's doing the right things. He's setting up the teams right, and he's setting the tempo right. I wonder what West Ham will bring, David Moyes will bring, and do you think that they could spoil the party come tonight?
It'll be interesting, to be honest, because I'm just on this optimism hype right now. I'm just on this, I'm on this cloud. I'm like, no one can bring us down. We keep going. We haven't lost a game since Arsenal. Before that, I can't even remember the last game we lost. I genuinely cannot remember the last game. It can't have been the City game. Oh, it was the Villa game. It's the Villa game that we lost.
Yeah.
And before that, it was I think we've lost altogether five games this season.
Yeah, not that many.
6 if we're counting Europa League, when we lost the opening game to Real Sociedad 1-0. I think in total we've lost 6. I might be wrong, sorry guys. But I'm on this high. A lot of people were anticipating reality to hit United with the run that we had in February.
Yeah.
And we've come out of it on the better side. Better than what others expected, better than what opposition fans expected.
Yeah.
And I feel like with this momentum that we have at the moment, coming off of a final win, coming off knocking out Barcelona, I just feel like West Ham is just another one it's just another one on the roster. It's just another one we're going to tick off. And it's not me being cocky at all. It's not me being overly optimistic. It's just that I have so much faith in Ten Hag and what he's doing with this team. This is probably the most likeable United team that has been there since since Sir Alex retired.
Yeah.
I can't remember liking a team this much. I remember the lockdown team with Bruno, Rashford, Marcel, when they were all scoring. I liked them.
Yeah, that was really
I
good.
liked them.
Yeah.
But there was still a bit of toxicity across the team in terms of I don't want Maguire playing, blah, blah, blah. But this team, I'm just I love my goalkeeper, love the right back, love the left back, love the centre backs, love this person. I love everybody across the whole pitch. just when I look at the bench, I'm like,
Yeah.
some of you lot can be upgraded.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm feeling with the West Ham game. West Ham are themselves in a transitional period where they are trying to figure themselves out. So I do think this West Ham game, FA Cup, Old Trafford, 12th man in terms of the fans.
Yeah.
I just feel like we have that one up on them.
I agree with you. I just want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, pun intended. Is it a thing where this is dangerous? This is a dangerous territory now.
It is dangerous, yeah.
You know, we're feeling almost, we're expected to win. Or is this the kind of expectation that players have to play under?
No.
But then as a supporter, are we almost, just kind of going into the wilderness thinking, yep, every game we is entitled to win without doing those little basics, the right to win, first challenges. The first halves of late haven't been great. We've still had to fight and suffer in games, and Ten Hag still had to produce magic.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lot of control all the time. So is it a little bit of a dangerous territory that we're falling into in terms of?
I don't think it's dangerous, because when I look at it last year, every game we went into, I did not know what the hell the outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
Every game I would sit down to watch in front of my TV, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to lose 5-0.
Yeah.
Don't know if this is going to be 0-0. Don't know if we're going to win 1-0. I genuinely do not know. I remember I think it was the Atletico Madrid Champions League. I don't know why, I was just confident. And then I was just like, why am I confident? Because I know this team is going to let me down, and now it's complete 180.
Yeah.
I'm very much sitting down and I'm like, yeah, I think we're going to win. I know we're going to win, because the manager that we have obviously is a big part, but also these players, I think, have had a complete mindset change.
Yeah.
Now I feel like they want to wear the shirt. Last season we used to be like, oh, they're not fit to wear the shirt.
Yeah.
They don't deserve. Now I'm like, you know what, you deserve it. I'm feeling like you deserve it. If you continue playing the way that you are, you definitely deserve to play for this team and to wear that shirt every day. Obviously West Ham are any team that comes to Old Trafford, they want to be the team that beat United.
Yes.
Similar to Arsenal, anyone who goes to the Emirates, they want to be the team that beats them at the Emirates and kind of hinders their opportunity of winning a league title. Same with United. Anyone that comes, just any opportunity to put the spotlight on Erik ten Hag, to put the spotlight on these United players, to put the spotlight on Rashford if he doesn't score, to put the spotlight on Bruno Fernandes if he doesn't play well, to put the spotlight on Lisandro Martinez if he gets out-jumped for a header and they score. Every team that comes to Old Trafford, they want to be that team. They want to be that guy. But I don't think West Ham will be that guy, because I just have too much faith in my team, and it's no criticism to West Ham as a team. I think they're a good team. David Moyes, I think he's a good coach. I think they've got some very talented players in Skamaka, Ben Rahma, Declan Rice. I think they've got very good players, but I'm just in a mood now where I'm just like, we're United. We're United.
And I hear you, I really do.
And it's the same as for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same is applicable to Liverpool.
Going to Anfield, I believe it's away from home, going to Anfield.
I think we can win at Anfield. I think we can win. Obviously,
Fortress.
It's a fortress, I think even Alex Ferguson said it recently in an interview with Gary Neville. He said the one stadium he didn't like to go to was Anfield because of, the fans and how electric it was.
Yeah.
But that's an occasion, and it's big occasions like this that you expect the players to step up. Similarly to, the Manchester derby at Old Trafford, we did not want to get beaten on our home turf. Barcelona on our home turf, you do not want to get beaten. This is different because Liverpool are at home. Last year, they absolutely destroyed us at Anfield. They absolutely annihilated us.
Yeah.
And I hope that they have that in the back of their mind on top of all the progress that they've made this season, because when you mix that humiliation with the desire and the passion and the commitment that they have this season, if you mix that together, I feel like you can get a little something out of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the Anfield game.
I mean, it's a big game. It's a big game. They've been poor recently, in terms of their abilities in the league this season. It's not been great for Liverpool. But we have to go and execute. Like you said, we're on 4 different fronts. We're competing for everything. I don't think Ten Hag has any chill. He plays the strongest side every single football match. I don't think it'll be any different against Liverpool. And this is a never really, really good week. I said last week was a great week to be a Man United fan. This is a never really good week. Cup game, big game against Liverpool. And if you get 3 points off your rivals against Liverpool on a Sunday, that's big. Away from home as well. We haven't been magnificent against the top 6 away from home. Could have won the game against Chelsea away from home. Should have won it maybe. Poor tactics from Potter and fantastic kind of team lineup from Ten Hag at that game. But and again was very close. Fine margins against Arsenal away from home as well. I think have we played Spurs yet? I think
I think we're playing them in April.
Yeah.
Playing them in April.
Spurs still to come away from home, but at home was fantastic performance. So away from home against City, not been great. So away from home, we still, against the top 6, we still need to, find our feet. At home, it's been a fortress, but looking forward to see what kind of side Ten Hag plays, his style of football. He's so adaptable. If it's pragmatic, he can do that. If it's control and passing for days, if it's in transition, he's got that as well. So he's just so well-rounded as a manager. I think, against Liverpool, it will be a tough battle. They come in, it's a derby game for them.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
Talking about the Liverpool game, I think a big part of that will be Marcus Rashford.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about what I like to call the Carrington products.
Yes.
That we even actually saw. Yeah, we saw this picture after the final. Quite a few of these players obviously played. Some of them didn't get the opportunity to play, but they've been involved in first team football this season. I think a big part of this will be these Carrington players, and they've been also a big part of Erik ten Hag's time here at Manchester United so far. Obviously, we could talk about Rashford, but even Garnacho, we've seen Kobbie Mainoo being eased in, Elanga getting his opportunities. Zidane Iqbal hasn't gotten his opportunities yet, but I think a big part of the fixtures this week, and especially the game at Anfield, will be 2 Carrington players. It will be Garnacho and it will be Rashford. And the reason why I think this is because I feel like, similar to how we beat them at home, was utilising our left-hand side against their weaker right-hand side with Trent Alexander, Arnold. I'm not sure if it's going to be Matip or Gomez playing there. We saw the game that, I don't know if anyone saw, but Gomez had a howler against Real Madrid, and then he got hooked off for Matip in like the 60th minute. I really think that Garnacho and Rashford, whether Rashford plays on that left or Garnacho comes in eventually in the 70th mark like he usually does, they will be told to just run at their fullback, run at their man. And it's been interesting because in the last, I would say, 7-8 years, I can really only think of Rashford that has come through Carrington
and hit the ground running
immediately. Garnacho for me is definitely the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see, how these other Carrington players get their opportunities, even the ones out on loan. I'm interested.
Yeah, Hannibal's come in, Ahmad we've spoken about a little bit. Elanga, we don't know if he's really going to make it in terms of, being a regular first team player. I've spoken a lot on Zidane Iqbal. I really like Kobbie as well. I think he's maybe the next one coming up.
Kobbie Mainoo is probably one of the most technically gifted players I've seen in the Carrington Academy right now.
Yeah, I think he's an all-round, powerhouse of a midfielder. Can do all elements of the game. We've seen him play in the 10 in the first team this season against, I think it was Forest, and then we've seen him play in the CDM areas. He's got amazing ability, in terms of physical prowess, long-range passing. I think he's played in the under 23s this season of 7 or 8 games. The 18s, he's played a lot of games as well. So he's slowly getting games into the first team, and I want to see him develop. I just want to see him develop. He already looks like a mountain of a man at such a young age. I think he's 17, 18 years of age.
He don't look it.
He doesn't look it at all, and it's so solid, hefty, big challenges that he was putting in. When he had his cameo, I think it was against Forest. He had another cameo as well.
And Reading.
Reading as well, a good little cameo against Reading as well. So he's slowly getting worked into the first team. I think that I'm surprised he's ahead of Zidane. I was so looking forward to Zidane Iqbal this season, and even Savage. It's funny how
Charlie Savage he's doing good at Forest Green Rovers right now. He's playing a bit more consistently, and I think that's one thing again about Erik ten Hag is he's been very selective with where his players go on loan. Because even with Elanga, I think there was loan opportunities for him to go to Borussia Dortmund and whatnot, and he didn't want that. And when you look at the academy players that have gone on loan, we've got Shola Shortau.
Yep.
We've got Charlie Savage, Amad Diallo, Hannibal Mejbri, Ethan Laird. They've all gone to teams where they are playing every game pretty much. Charlie Savage got eased into the Forest Green Rovers lineup, and now he's a starting player in their lineup. Shola Shortau straight into the lineup. Ethan Laird has been playing consistently until he's picked up an injury. Amad Diallo consistently. Hannibal Medbury
Hannibal.
consistently
Yeah.
scored a great free kick the other night for Birmingham City. And I feel like Erik ten Hag has been very selective, and that's why Zidane has not gone out on loan. I remember hearing rumours that Middlesbrough were interested. Obviously, a reunion with Michael Carrick, who he's worked very closely with.
Yeah.
That never happened. And then even when he came in, Erik ten Hag said that he was surprised that Zidane Iqbal has not been with the first team last season because of his ability and the kind of player he is. I seen him when I was watching him pre-season and then the friendlies during the World Cup break.
Yeah.
Technically, he's 10 out of 10.
Key player for the team.
He's a big player, and I really want to see what happens in terms of whether he will go out on loan, whether he will get an opportunity. Obviously, in where he plays, that 6th role or the 8th role, he's competing with Casemiro, Fred, McTominay, Sabitzer. He's 5th in line, sadly. And I would have thought a game like the Reading game, where we saw Kobbie Mainoo come on, or Charlton, where Kobbie Mainoo started, I would have thought Iqbal would get an opportunity, but I'm very trusting in the manager.
Yes.
So if he's not getting his chance, there's a reason why.
Facts.
Similar about Garnacho earlier in the season when everybody was like, why is he not getting his chance? Well, if he's not getting his chance, we definitely know there's something behind it, but the manager's not going to come out and say it. Maybe eventually once he gets his opportunity and everything's sorted, he might just be like, yeah, he needed to learn a thing or two before getting that chance.
I agree with you. I think there's principles and rules and how Ten Hag is. So there's something maybe that he still needs to learn about the game. Funny enough, I believe Erik ten Hag was a central defensive midfielder himself. So, you know, being within that process for Zidane, learning under Erik ten Hag and studying the game, you know, and he's got massive people to learn from, Eriksen, Casemiro, you know, and there's so much for him to learn and soak up just being in and around the first team, like you're saying. So sometimes that benefits a young player way more than going out.
I had a friend that played in Chelsea's academy, and he never got in. He was from the same era of the Mason Mounts and Tammy Abraham and that academy year. He never got the opportunity to ever make a first team appearance, but he got the opportunity to train quite often with the first team. And when I interviewed him once and we spoke about it, he said that it was the best thing ever because he had the opportunity to learn from, he's a midfielder, so he had the opportunity to learn and train alongside Cesc Fabregas. And he was like, where else would I ever get that opportunity?
Exactly.
He was like, even though I never made my first team appearance, and I wish I did, he was like, what I learned just from training and seeing what, to get to the level of football that you want to get to, you have to see what other people have sacrificed and what they do to get there. He was like, he's learned a lot from Fabregas and Hazard. That was two players that he named. So I feel like Zidane Iqbal, and not just him, but all the Carrington products that are here and even the ones to come, because I think the Carrington Academy is stacked with quality. I feel like it is stacked, and it's always something that has been known that Manchester United's academy produce some of the best English youngsters and even non-English youngsters. I know that under 18s, top quality, under 23s, top quality. And I feel like even the players that are going to come through in due time, just the opportunity to train with the first team, they will learn a lot. You know, they will get to learn from the likes of Casemiro, the likes of Eriksen, whoever then comes in summer transfer windows, you know, Frankie de Jong or hypothetically speaking, whoever, they'll get the opportunity to maybe learn from the people like Scholes, if Scholes ever returns back to the club, to just, you know, ask questions to the likes of Robin van Persie if you're a striker. The opportunities are endless. But in terms of this picture here, this is one of my favourite pictures from the final. It's one of my favourite pictures from the final. I saw a comment from Maguire. I can't remember whose Instagram it was, but he commented on it saying, basically 10 kids on a school trip with their granddad heating in the background. And I couldn't stop laughing. And I feel like this is just an example of basically Manchester United values in terms of having an academy kid. Like I saw a stat that said that they've had academy kids scoring pretty much every final, like people that have come through the academy, near enough every final. And for me, for Marcus Rashford, the last time he played at Wembley, missed a penalty for England in the Euros final. Yeah. So now to come back, score the basically winner for United, for me, that is just a testament to what Carrington produces. I know you've got some questions before we wrap it up.
Yeah. 2 questions now. I just thought of another one. But we're talking about Carrington, and I'm going to talk about the main Carrington kid right now on the block, and that's Marcus Rashford. Sir Alex Ferguson has obviously said, I saw an interview, and he'd said that he doesn't see Rashford as a striker. My question to you would be, or the first one would be, what position do you think Rashford plays? Is it on the wide areas, or was he predominantly a forward player?
I think I wouldn't say he's a winger. For me, I don't know if this term exists, but he's an inside forward.
Yes, it does.
Does that term exist?
Yeah.
To me, that's what he is, because, for example, when people compare him to Bukayo Saka, I'm a big fan of Saka. There's a lot of people I'm fans of outside of Manchester United.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I remember when Saka made his debut for Arsenal, and I was saying to my friend who's an Arsenal fan, I was like, oh, I'm going to hate it, but I really like this kid. I think they're two different types of players, and that's why I don't understand the comparisons, not just in England, but in terms of what they bring to their club. I think they are two different players. I think Saka is more of a winger. He's an out-and-out winger. I think Rashford is more of an inside forward, where his role might not be to, hug the touchline, drop a bit deeper, pick up the ball from the midfielder, run at his man. But he's good at running at his man. But I don't think his job is to pick up the ball from Fred or Casemiro or whoever's in that 10 role. But his job is very much, he can do that 1-2 link-up play. He can get in lethal positions around the box, outside of the box. His ability to cut in and, shoot with his right, or his ability now to cut in and cross it in with his right, or his ability to not even cut in and just hit the byline and shoot with his left foot is something that it's not what wingers would do for me. So I don't think he's a striker. I wouldn't say he's a number 9. But I also wouldn't say he's a winger. I think I'm just making up a position at this point. But I think he plays in that half space between the winger and the striker. So that's an inside forward. I guess that's what it would be. And that's why I anticipate that United would eventually go out into the market to buy a striker, because that's not what he is. But then again, this season, we've seen him being, I think it was early in the season. I think it was a game end of September. I can't remember who it was, but he did an interview after the game when he scored, and he said that he was working with, the coaching staff to improve his back to goal play. He was working to improve his, technical abilities in terms of playing in that 9 position. And I feel like we've seen it this season where there's times where he gets into the positions that you would want a lethal number 9 to get into. And that's that 6-yard box and the spaces around it, to get on the end of a cross, to put your foot out for a ball, to get on the end of a rebound. We've seen it so many times actually this season, and he scored, I think, 3 times from it. He scored from headers around that 6-yard penalty box area. He's done all of that. So he has some attributes of a 9, of a striker, and he has some attributes of a winger. And I feel like that's what makes him so much more different to out-and-out wingers like Bukayo Saka, like Foden, like all those other English players that he's always being compared to. I feel like that's what makes him so different, and I feel like he's different to the likes of Mbappe, and he's different. He's not Haaland. He's not a 9, but then he ain't a winger. So it's like, where does he fall into?
So I term the position a hybrid forward. He can play anywhere in the front, and anywhere in that front 3, and he can do many elements of forward line play. He can do. He's learning on the back to goal. He can go beyond break lines like Jamie Vardy-esque. He can do the 1v1 technical dribbling like a Tony Marshall. So he's very much a hybrid forward, can do the inside forward play off the wing, or he can hug the touchline on the right side and play maybe not as well, but he still can do the role. My second and last question...
Sorry, just one thing. Fun fact, guys. I watched the interview he did to Marcus Rashford, and he said he started out as a goalkeeper. Growing up, he started out as a goalkeeper as a kid, and he said when it was the grassroots club that he was playing for in Manchester, and he only ever came outfield because they were always winning so much that his manager was like, he got bored, and he was like, let him play up front today, and that's the making of Marcus Rashford.
Crazy, isn't it?
It's just one decision just changes your entire
outlook on the game.
It's crazy. It's funny.
So then, on crazy outlooks of the game and small decisions, or major decisions, Ten Hag's obviously had a major decision to do at right back. We have 2 right backs right now that are playing magnificent. do we see them stay on, you know, into next season? Like, what do you make of it as the Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot thing? Do we keep them both?
I think we keep them.
A few months ago, we were saying we have a massive right-back issue. We need a new right-back. Are we keeping them on now?
I don't think anyone said we needed a new right-back. I think people said we needed a backup right-back because Wan-Bissaka, everybody had the Wan-Bissaka from last season in their head.
Well, I thought we needed a new one. I've always wanted competition to Dalot or above.
If you look at the right-back market right now, and who are you going to go for? Frimpong?
Hakimi for me has always been someone
that I've looked at. For me, Hakimi is a great right-back, but I don't know if that's something possible right now. PSG, obviously, his value will be crazy. Which I wanted Mazraoui before Mazraoui joined Bayern Munich. I wanted United to get him.
Yep.
He played with Ten Hag, obviously, at Ajax as well. So he would have been a great right back. Obviously, Malo Gusto would have been a great right back option. Yeah. He's going to Chelsea. So in terms of what we have in the market right now, I don't think it would be. I need to see how the season plays out. Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, what happens. If we can get a good fee for Wan-Bissaka, and I'm talking like
67. What's his value now? What's his market value now? You know, considering how well he's playing, I would like us to keep him because he's got such unique quality.
Yeah.
The way he wrapped up St. Maximin.
I think defensively, what he offers as a right back, no right back offers.
Yeah.
I think, but it's just this whole idea of modern fullbacks, the same idea, of modern goalkeepers. It's the same ideology. So I need to, before I answer that, I need to see how the season plays out because I think it would be unfair for me to say, we have to sell them or we have to keep them if I haven't seen how they've played out for the next 3-4 months because Wan-Bissaka has turned around everybo's opinion on him in 2 months. Yeah. So who knows what will happen
in the next 2 months.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows?
No, I appreciate you. And that's it for today. It's been really, really nice speaking to you today.
Quick predictions.
Go on.
West Ham tonight, Liverpool Sunday.
West Ham tonight, I think, it's in the Fortress, 3-1, Man United. And then Liverpool away from home. I'm really worried about our away games, against the top 6. I would like to see maybe a 2-1. I think we scrape a 2-1 or a 1-1 draw at Anfield.
I'm going 3-0 West Ham, 2-0 Liverpool.
Nils, a clean sheet season.
Clean sheet. I believe in the Rolls Royce. I believe in the Butcher. I believe in Butterfingers. I'm joking. Yeah. He's not Butterfingers, guys. He's not Butterfingers. I believe in David De Gea. Nothing shall pass. So I'm going for 2 clean sheets in a row. 2 clean sheets in a row. Nice. Well, that's it for today, guys. Weekly Red Room show. We're going to be again here next week. Real Betis and Southampton. Please like, share it, comment and subscribe. It's been myself. Here's Mina, the wonderful Mina. And thank you guys. Have a good week.